This is the world that you know.
This is news from North Carolina Public Radio, WUNC. Early in-person voting got underway this morning.
I believe in freedom, liberty, and I come from a communist country. And I disagree with Joe China.
Good morning, everyone. It is now 8 o'clock sharp, and the polls are open.
They cheered at doors open on day one of voting in Raleigh. Across America, 15 million had already cast an early ballot before them.
Voting is important, and believe me, for the nightmare that we've suffered in this country for the last 4 years, it's very important for me to be here.
This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the red pill, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. Remember, all I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
Democrats invited it.
I just don't even know why there aren't uprisings all over the country. Maybe there will be.
Democrats encouraged it.
When they go low, we kick them. That's what this new Democratic Party is about.
Get up in the face of some Congress people.
You have released the whirlwind, and you will pay the price.
This country stands on the edge of oblivion.
I want everyone to remember why they need us.
To describe this story as horrifying would be an understatement.
Curfew is now in effect. All unauthorized citizens must stay indoors.
And if that sounds like a warning, then that's exactly what it's meant to be.
Please!
It deals with the sexual abuse of children by satanic cults.
It is the fastest growing international crime network that the world has ever seen.
And not only that, human sacrifices as well. The story of Teresa is a story almost too horrible to recount.
Worldwide death toll rises to over 110 million.
All infected Americans are being forced into quarantine camp.
Department of Sanitation, just open the door.
People should not be afraid of their governments. Governments should be afraid of their people.
And Clinton did not hesitate to shoulder the blame.
You can hear there is a chorus of boos and other chants from this Trump crowd here in Tampa, Florida. They're saying things like CNN sucks, go home, and fake news. Wolf, obviously, all of those things are false. We're staying right here. We're going to do our job and report on this.
Family stealing the election. The media's covering it up. The Biden crime family stealing this election. The media's covering it up. The Biden crime family stealing this election. The media's covering up. We want our freedom for the world. Give us our freedom, Joe Biden. Joe Biden's covering up this election. He's stealing it.
Look at this. The role of declaring the winner of a presidential election in the U.S. falls to the news media. No, it does not. The broadcast networks and cable news outlets have vowed to be prudent.
The Fox News decision desk can now project that former Vice President Joe Biden will win Pennsylvania and Nevada, putting him over the 270 electoral votes he needs to become the 46th president of the United States.
Biden is being called with the Pennsylvania votes that have just come in.
Darth Tax Evader has been toppled, and America responded with a dance party.
So even with thousands upon thousands of uncounted ballots, pending lawsuits, hundreds and hundreds of claims of voter fraud across several states. good old lapdog lamestream media and the Biden campaign decided to just move forward and claim victory. We should all want the same thing, a fair and honest election, right? If we rush through this process, disregarding all that has come to light, then we are no better than a third world communist country that conducts rigged elections with no concern for the voting public.
That's right. You think so?
Well, thank you very much. Thank you. I want to thank the American people for their tremendous support. Millions and millions of people voted for us tonight. And a very sad group of people is trying to disenfranchise that group of people.
A global plan called the Great Reset is underway. Its architect is a global elite that wants to subdue all humanity, imposing coercive measures with which to drastically limit individual freedoms and those of entire populations.
Normally you would expect to see a smooth curve going up, not any big spikes.
And I want the American public to know right now that we will not be intimidated.
So that big spike that occurs there is a prime indicator of fraudulent voting.
And we are going to take this country back. We are not going to be intimidated. We are not going to back down. We are going to clean this mess up now.
Can you calculate how much of a vote that accounted for Biden and how much for Trump?
Close to 600,000. I think our figures were about 570 some odd thousand that all those spikes represent over time.
For Biden?
Correct.
And how much for Trump?
I think it was a little over 3,200.
President Trump won by a landslide. We are going to prove it. And we are going to reclaim the United States of America for the people who vote for freedom.
We have put together, I think, the most extensive and inclusive voter fraud organization in the history of American politics.
And we won't stand for it.
I'm going to release the Kraken.
Our problems are man-made. Therefore, they can be solved by man.
And you know, I used to be on the other side of things, in case you didn't know.
And man can be as big as he wants. No problem of human destiny is beyond human beings.
This sounds like political presidential talk to me. And I know people have talked to you about whether or not you want to run. Would you ever?
Man's reason and spirit have often solved the seemingly unsolvable.
And I led a very nice life. But I also love our country.
And we believe they can do it again.
But I do get tired of seeing what's happening with this country. And if it got so bad, I would never want to rule it out totally, because I really am tired of seeing what's happening with this country, how we're really making other people live like kings and we're not.
And this was an easy decision. I went from being the ultimate insider to being an outsider like they've never seen before. We are doing so well. This is a movement like they've never, ever seen before. Today's ceremony, however, has very special meaning.
To give you the strength to have the courage to trust in the plan for the next 6 months, because you're going to see overwhelming proof.
Because today, we are not merely transferring power from one administration to another, or from one party to another.
Thank you very much, everybody.
From the Oval Office tonight, President Trump with a wink and a tease.
Thank you very much. You'll find out.
But we are transferring power from Washington, D.C., and giving it back to you, the people.
Every single government on earth, all of them, have capitulated over to Trump.
White House veterans warn words matter.
Those words that come out of the president's mouth have an impact all around the globe, and sometimes there are unintended consequences because of the words that are spoken.
Mr. President, I'll give this ball to you, and the other ball is in your court.
The gift of a soccer ball.
Do you guys know what this represents?
Tell us, sir.
Maybe it's the calm before the storm.
What's the storm?
Could be the calm before the storm.
What storm, Mr. President?
You'll find out.
Do not allow anyone to tell you that it cannot be done. No challenge can match the heart and fight and spirit of America. We will not fail. Our country will thrive and prosper again.
I got to say, 4 years ago, I was honored to come to America to bring the Brexit message, the message that you can beat the establishment. And that is what Donald Trump did. He beat the pollsters, he beat the media, he beat all the predictions. And here's the worst bit, they've never forgiven him for it. They've never, ever forgiven him. They have spent 4 years trying to delegitimize him. 4 years of the Russia hoax. 4 years of a false impeachment. Most human beings under that barrage would have given up. This is the single most resilient and bravest person I have ever met in my life. You are voting for the only current leader in the free world who has got the guts to stand up and fight.
It's just chaos all the time. It seems like he's the commander of the chaos.
To fight for patriotism, to fight against globalism. You'll be voting for the only leader in the Western world with the real courage to stand up to the Chinese Communist Party. And a man who in 4 years hasn't just cut your taxes, hasn't just improved the economy, but a man who right now is bringing Israel together with Arab nations.
We have before us a rare opportunity to bring security and stability and peace to this region and to its people, defeating terrorism and creating a future of harmony, prosperity, and peace.
And that's what he's done.
After 49 years, Israel and the United Arab Emirates will fully normalize their diplomatic relations. They will exchange embassies and ambassadors and begin cooperation across the board.
And I wish you Godspeed. I really do.
Thank you.
This is going to be the proof for you. And he took 6 months to clean house, clean the swamp in Washington.
The White House insisting President Trump never tips his hand.
We're never going to say in advance what the president's going to do.
We need to be tough at times, but you can't get everything done by putting people in a corner.
Tonight, the former reality TV star turned president is leaving American allies and adversaries with a cliffhanger.
You know, it's not about I win, you lose. The other thing is, when you look at the Congress, though, it's like 24 hours since John McCain was put to death.
And that was the summer of 2017, and that's where this whole story I'm going to tell you today begins. If it wasn't for us being so asleep, none of this would have been allowed to happen.
Billy, stop. Okay, stop, you too. Okay, stop.
All I can say to you is that we are responsible, all of us.
Are you f***ing kidding me? The Super Bowl?
The next 6 months are an opportunity. It's an opportunity for all of you to become the kind of hero that you've always wanted to be in your eyes.
Our agency has a very good reputation for finding people.
No fences on the backside. We're going to have to cover that 2 and 3 corner.
U.S. Marshals suit up to get to work. They're looking for someone on the run, but not a dangerous criminal.
We're going after children.
Well, CBS 46 cameras were there during this mission, and our Megan Packer takes us inside Operation Not Forgotten.
Trust in the plan that there are good people fighting against the sickest, most evil people in the creation of evil. Come on. There are good people out there. You get up and be part of this. Everything is about Donald Trump and the abbreviation that you get with Q called D-class or DECLAS. DECLAS is code or an abbreviation for D-class, and D-class is short for declassified. So the main people behind all of this have been the NSA.
Phone in your pocket right now might be a government spying device.
Access to everything about you. As soon as that information became available, a group of people within the military said, this is our chance.
The NSA's Security and Counterintelligence Directorate, also known as the Q Group, is the agency's internal police force.
They're basically the cops or the police of the NSA. Their main job is to make sure that, their many analysts and officers and program managers are not targeted by foreign intelligence services.
There is a moment in time, and we must act upon this.
So I think Joe Biden and the Biden family are compromised. Obviously, I've referenced that I held a Q clearance. You're briefed on compromise and who you're able to talk with and deal and do business with.
50 years from now, our great-grandchildren will look back and say, what a beautiful history we wrote together.
The minions who are running things for whoever is hidden in the background.
Mr. President.
What these minions don't seem to get is that they're just as vulnerable as we are.
Meanwhile, as the Trump-Comey storm grows, the president kicked off his first foreign trip as U.S. leader. He's set to touch down later this Saturday in Saudi Arabia, the first leg of a whirlwind 8-day tour that will take him to Israel.
And then he went to Saudi Arabia first because he needed to. There's a reason he went to Saudi Arabia first.
All eyes are, of course, on Trump as he takes his first steps as head of state on the world stage.
All believe it was the crown prince at that time. Now, he got right into the whole adrenochrome thing.
What is this shit?
That stuff makes pure mescaline seem like ginger beer, man. Adrenochrome.
Adrenochrome?
You are a disgrace, not only to the GOP, but to all of America. Withdraw from the U.S. presidential race, as you will never win.
This is all because this Al-Waleed got sucked in by the cabal, the 13 families, one of the 3 main arms of their weaponry. And there are a lot of Saudis that didn't like this. They knew what was going on, and they didn't like it. But there's a lot of people that draw lines with children.
Really don't think he's the right messenger for a message, to bring a message of peace and unity to the Middle East.
Of a pretty stunning moment. Jim was talking about the publicity of this. Well, Saudi King Salman presented that to the president. It's a gold medal. The collar of Abdulaziz Al Saud is what it's called, and it's the nation's highest honor. What is the symbolism there? What is the intention as he gives him that honor? Because already what we are seeing, the grandeur of this welcome, is so different from what we've seen with past presidents.
When Trump arrived in the summer of 2017, he laid out all of the documents. That's what they did to everyone. They had folders, and the folders had all the documents.
These are some of the 33 Haitian children an American Baptist group allegedly tried to unlawfully take out of the country on Saturday.
Annalberia is a small village with a painful past. All of these girls are victims of trafficking.
There were photographs. They came with discs, CDs, and DVDs. And the CDs and DVDs had fantastic production value, and it had all of their footage doing the most horrific things. The NSA has it all on all of these people.
This was, quite a surprising move here by Prince Mohammed. I mean, most of all, this arrest or detainment of al-Walid.
We're talking about weeks after Trump came and on his visit in July of 2017 to Saudi Arabia. After Trump left, that's when the arrests happened.
Early in November, something happened that many Saudis would have thought unimaginable. From their homes across the country, dozens of the kingdom's richest men, including members of the royal family, were swept up and detained in the gilded cage of Riyadh's Ritz-Carlton Hotel.
Well, his get-out-of-jail card is probably the priciest of them all. They're apparently asking for around $6 billion from him out of an $18.7 billion net worth. So that's a tall price. He apparently is resisting that kind of a fine.
But al-Walid is the one that sort of handpicked Barack Obama as somebody that they could work with.
Faith has always been a guiding force in our... Nearly 20% of Americans think President Barack Obama is a Muslim. This according to a recent poll by the Pew Research Center.
About 1/5 of Americans are not willing to even accept a man at his word when he says, I'm a Christian.
You are absolutely right that John McCain has not talked about my Muslim faith, and you're absolutely right that has not come... my Christian faith.
It was this Crown Prince al-Walid of Saudi Arabia that decided to make Obama the one that they were going to turn into this linchpin of U.S. presidents.
I, Barack Hussein Obama, do solemnly swear, to the best of my ability, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States.
So help you God?
So help me God.
Congratulations, Mr. President.
And al-Walid was arrested, taken down, and in his place was bin Salman. And bin Salman is somebody who was not okay with what al-Walid was doing. Now, this is absolutely the truth. What happened the second day? The second day, the Crown Prince and the King both submitted publicly control over Saudi Arabia to Donald J. Trump. And how do you know this? Because they publicly held the sword dance ritual, which is a very, very big deal to the Muslim culture. And only the king holds the sword. Who's at the very center, at the top of the podium, and who everyone else is around in support of, Donald Trump is holding the sword. This is Saudi Arabia publicly capitulating, and in one of the photos that we have, it shows the Saudi king, and he looks like he's about to die. He's in so much pain at what's going on here. They just handed over the keys to Saudi Arabia to Donald J. Trump. So what is important to note is that where Trump went next, he went with Saudi as part of his team. So you need to understand, it's not just that he didn't go there and take them down and that they're never going to do it. No, they're now working for him. They're part of this team. They're part of the Q plan now. You need to wrap your heads around this.
Direct from Riyadh, President Trump took the first official flight.
And then the days that followed, Trump left Saudi Arabia and went immediately to Israel.
Defeating terrorism and creating a future of harmony, prosperity, and peace. But we can only get there working together. There is no other way.
Mr. Trump has already disappointed many Israelis. He promised to move the US embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem, his next stop. However, all the signs are that won't happen now.
One thing, in fact, we can just see there, just let me stop by saying we see President Trump there wearing a skull cap, a kippah, in fact, as it's known in Hebrew, being taken to the Western Wall by the ultra-Orthodox rabbi in charge of the location. And clearly he's been asked to look at text as such, explaining the importance of the wall. What is also very interesting for viewers is the fact that he's actually standing with his wife, because men and women are actually separated in front of the wall.
Do you remember how angry most of you got when you saw those pictures of Donald Trump at the Wailing Wall? He's not a puppet for the Zionists. There are no Zionists. Remember, folks, there's just the Phoenicians. There's just those 13 families, and they're very smart, and they're very good. And he sat down with everybody in front of the camera and behind the cameras, the people that are really in power, and he laid it all out on these minions. They were balking at him, even though he showed that the Saudis had signed over, and the Israelis were balking at Trump and were not prepared to sign over. And that's why Trump stayed an extra day. Trump was not going to leave Israel without them capitulating to him.
Jerusalem, the ancient city claimed by three of the world's great religions, now central in a dispute pitting President Trump and Israel's prime minister against most world leaders. The president telling the heads of Israel, Egypt, Jordan, Saudi Arabia, and the Palestinians today he will recognize Jerusalem as Israel's capital, an unprecedented move breaking with U.S. policy since Israel was created.
And the sort of the how do you know moment is after visiting the Wailing Wall, Israel publicly submitted allowing the United States to move their embassy to Jerusalem.
But the president will not move the U.S. embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem right away, despite a campaign promise.
We will move the American embassy to the eternal capital of the Jewish people, Jerusalem.
This is symbolic. It is a symbolic act to show who has the power, even in the Holy Land.
And we extend a hand in friendship to Israel, the Palestinians, and to all of their neighbors. May there be peace. May God bless this embassy. May God bless all who serve there. And may God bless the United States of America. Thank you.
Step number 2 of the journey completed.
President Trump met with Pope Francis at the Vatican, toured St. Peter's Basilica.
Saudi, Israel, and then the Vatican.
Hi, George. Good morning from Rome. As you know, these are two leaders who don't see eye to eye on a number of issues. They had that very public feud during the campaign over immigration. But today, that first face-to-face right here at the Vatican, and they both seem to genuinely get along.
Vatican, and he presents to Pope Francis a massive, apparently the folder was absolutely huge, and handed it over to them and said, yeah, take your time, have a look-see. So that's what Trump is saying. I'm not leaving here until you sign some documents for me. It took the Vatican that night, and the next day they capitulated.
When you see Pope Francis with a world leader, and he meets a lot of them, it's easy to read into it. He doesn't have much of a poker face, I guess, but here he is with German Chancellor Angela Merkel, happy. Here he is with President Putin, not too thrilled. See him with President Obama, laughing it up. And finally, here he is with the Trump. It looks less like a meeting, more like the Trump family passed away and they don't know it yet.
Donald Trump has a look on his face that is a mixture of victory, joy, and mischievousness.
and the two men who so publicly clashed, today ending their meeting in a handshake. Yeah, so there were no cameras inside for the meeting between the president and the Pope, but we are hearing a little bit about what they discussed. They talked about the situation in the Middle East. They talked about the protection of Christian communities around the world. A number of international affairs issue talked about here today.
And they symbolically signed off. Now, what did the Vatican have to do to sign off? You see, the Fed is controlled by a certain group within the Catholic Church. Who went forth and spread the teachings of Christianity? The Jesuits!
When is a central bank not a central bank? When is a private bank public and a public bank private? Sound mysterious and full of secrets? Well, that's the Vatican Bank.
Is in 1929 they hit a deal with Mussolini, the head of the fascist state. He recognized them as a real country, that little piece of land, and in return gave them about $1 billion in today's money, compensating them for the loss of the Papal States. They said, what do we do with $1 billion? We're clerics, not financiers. They hired a guy who was a brilliant financial whiz, Bernardino Nogaro. He came in. He understood arbitrage, he understood offshore banking, he understood how to move hard assets around, investments in real estate, and he started to do that. In the middle of World War II, he said to the Pope, I need a bank. It's not enough to have correspondent banks. We need to move our money off the radar so the British and Americans can't follow what we're doing, because they were playing both sides. The Americans and Brits they were investing in, and the Germans and Italians. They didn't know who would win. They wanted to make sure they were covered. And that's the birth of the Vatican Bank. They go from an institution that can't embrace capitalism to one that suddenly has its own bank in the middle of the war.
They were in control of the Fed. So Trump did not leave until Pope Francis issued a papal bull announcing that by a certain date, the Vatican Bank, which was in charge of all, was the head executor, the exchequer of all of the earth-wide Federal Reserve banking systems in each country, would be handed over to one Donald J. Trump. Donald J. Trump is not, Mark, just the executor, the exchequer of the U.S. Treasury and therefore the Fed within the United States. He is the exchequer for Earth. He is the exchequer for the treasuries for every single country on Earth. That's what I told you earlier. No human being in history has ever been more powerful, owned more things, or richer than Donald Trump.
And we are working on that as we speak. We have conversations with various representatives of China. I believe that will all work out very well for everybody. China, Japan, the United States, and everybody in the region. As far as the currency devaluations, I've been complaining about that for a long time. And I believe that we will all eventually, and probably very much sooner than a lot of people understand or think, we will be all at a level playing field. Because that's the only way it's fair. That's the only way that you can fairly compete in trade and other things. And we will be on that field, and we will all be working very hard to do great for our country. But it has to be fair, and we will make it fair.
Since the establishment of the Rothschild banking empire that runs the world today, many have tried, many countries, many presidents, many leaders, many individuals, many corporations have tried to topple and escape the Rothschild banking empire slavery system, because that's what it is. The problem we face is that most of us suffer from cognitive dissonance, and that cognitive dissonance prevents us from believing or digesting information that we get about the origins of money, how it's made, how it's controlled, who creates it, and how it runs the world. And the Rothschild banking empire, how they've woven the spell into the education system. It's just such a beautiful and easy thing to realize why they could succeed. JFK started to print the United States notes. He did pretty much very much the same to what Donald Trump did. except he didn't have the support. He was all alone. Can you imagine how JFK must have felt when he started to print the United States notes? He couldn't talk to the media. He couldn't get his message out to the people because the media is controlled by the people that run the Fed. He's just stolen the Fed from the banking families that own the media and all the propaganda of the world. There's no way he could share his knowledge and information with the people. So very quickly they just took him out, and the Fed took back the money, the control of the money, and everything went back to normal. But JFK came very, very close, but the time wasn't right. The international media, the network that we have today, the social media, the internet, is a far more conducive environment for any leader of a country to be able to do such a thing, because the moment you do it, the entire global propaganda machine through the mainstream media will come down on you like an unimaginable pack of terriers, and they will rip you apart. And that's pretty much what's happening in the USA right now.
I just told him I've got to come over and see the fake news. Let's go. What do you have, John?
Journalists that we have in our media did a disservice to themselves, actually more than they did to this country. They did a disservice to themselves because they displayed an arrogance that is unprecedented.
We have to just go around them. We just have to go around them, and we have gone around them like nobody in history has ever gone around them.
So let's come back to Donald Trump and what he did. Donald J. Trump, the President of the United States right now, was the first individual that managed to outsmart the bankers. He did it quietly, stealthily, and without any fanfare or global news or reporting on it. He took over and basically nationalized the Federal Reserve Bank of the United States.
Now I'm going to sign this, and it's a great honor. $6.2 trillion. I've never signed anything with a T on it. I don't know if I can handle this one, Mitch. We can't chicken out at this point, can we? I don't think so, huh? All right, thank you all.
So Donald Trump simply brought the Federal Reserve Bank into the Treasury Department, and nobody realized what was happening.
But I wanted that to be a nice signature.
The Corona aid bill, the CARES bill. This wasn't hatched a month ago. It was hatched 14 months ago. This has been in the plan.
We're going to have a tremendous rebound at the end of the year, toward the end of the year. I think we're going to have a rebound like we have never seen before. Even now it wants to rebound. You can see it, you feel it.
Then he did the next most incredible move, and he appointed as his 2IC, or the guy to look after the Fed, now under the umbrella of the United States Treasury Department, that one of the most powerful, if not the most powerful and influential person in the world, by the name of Larry Fink. Larry Fink runs a company called BlackRock.
When you think about all the people who send money, they may work in one country, send money back home. They generally do that through organizations that charge 5 to 10%. Yeah. There is a need, whether it's a Libra or something else, to democratize the exchange of foreign currencies. Today, with computers and electronic market,
there shouldn't be that.
It should be 10 basis points, 5 basis points.
That
it's not percent. And so I actually believe the idea around Libra, I don't think we need to create a new currency, but the technology to instantaneous calibrate all the currencies, that should be done.
The Fed making history today, and for the first time ever, began buying corporate debt ETFs. The unprecedented move driving an explosion in the corporate debt market.
The Fed is now the bad bank. That's a good term. It's an accurate term. You said you're going to be seeing numerous different national central banks becoming the bad bank. They're becoming nationalized. They're broken. And they're going to be declared the bad bank. They're going to be loaded up with impaired assets. You got that right.
If you nationalize a market, you take it over like that, you shove out all the private sector players, all the brokers and the dealers go away, and you have no more liquidity, and it becomes a permanent fixture of the central bank or the government itself. And that's a dangerous place to be in the long term.
is that the Exchange Stabilization Fund and the ministries of finance, like in France and Italy and Germany, they're taking control. They're filling up their central banks with the bad bank impaired assets, but they're also supporting the stock markets.
Okay, so are you talking about this is a coordinated effort to load up the central banks and maybe destroy the Rothschild system?
Yes, to dump it on the Rothschilds' backyard.
London was the financial arm of all of this. Washington was the military arm. Rome was the central brain, the core. They call it the spirit, but it's not. It's sort of the central brain of this unholy trinity of power. And what they did by doing this is that so Trump's thinking is like the CIA, the Rothschilds, and the financial district of the city of London is too evil. It's too far gone. Don't even want to work with them. And he's not. He circumvented them.
Its patriarch during the second half of the 20th century was Sir Evelyn Rothschild, who even today is the financial advisor to Queen Elizabeth.
All of their power was cut off, and they have been forced to do some really humbling things over the last 18 months, in particular by POTUS.
There's the president. I think now you can see President Trump and Melania.
As we come on the air, the president has just arrived at Buckingham Palace in London for his first official state visit to Great Britain. This is the first stop as he greets the royal family there, and this is going to be a very busy week.
Yeah, they look to be having quite a nice chat.
But do not be mistaken. The Queen is behind all of these decisions and is in utter control of this entire schedule.
Trump stepped ahead of Prince Charles and started to walk away at a pace that Charles couldn't keep up. And he walked right over to Charles' private guard and just began shooting the breeze with them.
Also, it's quite unusual, perhaps, that the president would speak to members of the guard. Because what they're trying to do here is really celebrate those U.S. ties.
And I think that, correct me if I'm wrong, it's unusual for the guard to speak back. The fact that President Trump is going up and asking them questions, they're probably not accustomed to that.
I have to give him 10 out of 10 for that performance. This is a performance. This is part of ceremonial. These are pictures which will last forever.
I was asked to have tea with the Queen, who is incredible, by the way. So, I was hearing, I had landed, and I'm on the grounds, and I'm waiting with the king's and with the Queen's guards. Wonderful people, I'm waiting.
And then he purposely came late.
So I was about 15 minutes early, and I'm waiting with my wife, and that's fine.
Some can't believe it was actually going to happen, but Donald met the Queen. There's that exasperated side again. So here we go. This was at Windsor Castle just about 25 minutes ago. Donald and Melania arriving to meet Queen Elizabeth for tea. What do you think is going through her mind right now?
And when the Queen welcomed the President and First Lady Melania to Windsor Castle, she wore this diamond palm leaf brooch. Turns out it's the same brooch her mother wore on a very sad day, at the funeral of Elizabeth's father, King George, in 1952.
But I'm a little early. So I then go up and meet the Queen, and she is fantastic.
If you were watching this broadcast, she stood there, waiting.
Yeah.
For I don't know how long. She's 92.
Yeah, I guess they didn't coordinate schedules very well. I don't know, maybe Donald was running a few minutes late, but yeah, she was standing there for probably a good 10 to 15 minutes waiting.
Sir, we weren't late. So here was the story by the fake news.
This is an NBC News special report.
The president was 15 minutes late for the Queen.
Now, there are many protocols you have to follow when meeting the royal family, and onlookers noted that Trump broke several of them.
His behavior, Trump's behavior that day was just incredible. He just walked all over the place wherever he went.
Walked in front of the Queen.
Yeah, so they're standing there. The camera angle is amazing when it gets. Here we go. So she's confused.
She's
Move
like,
over there.
"Yeah,
Go
move
over
that
there.
way. I want
Go.
you to go
Start
there."
walking.
Is it-
So then he starts to walk in front of her.
In front of you? Queen Elizabeth?
So now she's like, wait, I'm just feeling that. Oh,
now she's got to figure out what to do around him.
Where'd she go? Where'd she go? Is she behind me?
That's just...
Go.
can't.
We wanted the moment. You knew there's going to be some awkward moment. There's your awkward moment.
And finally referred to the Queen as a total quilf. Those were Trump's royal protocol breaches.
This is where the Queen will arrive in a short while. But first of all, we have the Crown arriving. And a salute as the Crown is taken from the State car by the Crown Jeweller, who is Mark Appleby. And the Crown having been accompanied by Lieutenant Colonel Michael Vernon, who is the Controller of the Lord Chamberlain's office, in charge of so many of the important functions in the palace, in Buckingham Palace. So being presented with the imperial state crown by the Crown Jeweller. This crown only seen very rarely at the state opening of Parliament and at coronations.
She is much more familiar with this, the diamond-encrusted imperial state crown. She wore it at the end of her coronation and for most state openings of Parliament since.
My Lords and members of the House of Commons, my government's priority is to deliver the United Kingdom's departure from the European Union on the 31st of January. My ministers will bring forward legislation to ensure the United Kingdom's exit on that date and to make the most of the opportunities that this brings for all the people of the United Kingdom.
You've been fantastic. We couldn't have done this without you. Thank you so much indeed. Believe it or not, we're no longer a member of the European Union.
And then from there, he went to Russia, and boy, was this ever a big one, hey?
President Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin are about to hold a press conference there in the presidential palace here in Helsinki. After finishing a round of meetings that began about 45 minutes late this morning, the two leaders got together and after a handshake, sat down one-on-one for about 2 hours. No one else in the room, no aides. After that 2 hours, which was a little bit longer than scheduled, the presidents then met with a broader group of aides at a working lunch.
I'm hearing that there's a feeling that there was very little chance of success, that the meeting lasted for more than 90 minutes because, like John said, there wasn't a ton of prep that went into this. Even the number twos at the major departments, my sources tell me they didn't even have a chance to meet before this. So the idea that they would be spending so much time in there is not a great thing. Traditionally, leaders in a bilateral would spend about an hour together.
Putin has a soccer ball.
It was a gesture of friendship after the historic summit.
Mr. President, I'll give this ball to you, and now the ball is in your court.
The gift of a soccer ball.
Which has connotations, though, that isn't so funny. I mean, we talked about this earlier.
Exactly.
Mark, about the
adrenochrome. It's horrific, I know, but I mean, it's just, you couldn't put it more in plain sight. So at this very public, this is in front of all the press, snapping their pictures, taking their video, and there is Vladimir Putin, and he hands over to Donald Trump a soccer ball, and he famously says, "The ball is in your court now, Mr. President."
And now the ball is in your court.
We're on your team.
statements coming in right now. The word treasonous popping up a bit. We'll dig into that.
We've also heard just a few moments ago from Lindsey Graham on this, saying this was a missed opportunity for the president to confront Vladimir Putin. Obviously, there wasn't much of a confrontation here whatsoever.
All smiles to begin with. Dmitry Medvedev taking his seat for the president's State of the Nation address. His face not giving much away as the president outlined a series of constitutional reforms which would shift the balance of power in Russia, potentially providing a role for Vladimir Putin when his presidential term expires in 2024. Hours later, this surprise announcement.
It is obvious that we, as the government of the Russian Federation, should provide the president of our country with the opportunity to make all the necessary decisions for this. Therefore, the current government of the Russian Federation resigns.
The government will stay on for now, but Mr. Putin has already picked a new prime minister, the head of the Federal Tax Service, Mikhail Mishustin. He's not a political heavyweight. It's clear who'll be calling the shots. He made clear today that he was not angling to stay on as president.
The reconfiguration, I think, is aimed at taking away power from the presidency and empower other institutions of Russian government management.
Reports are coming in that Russian President Vladimir Putin is set to step down from his position in January, with concern that the 68-year-old may be battling with Parkinson's disease, with Putin over the last few months keeping a very low profile on the international stage. Now, at this hour, the Kremlin is denying the report.
It's the first meeting between U.S. President Donald Trump and Chinese President Xi Jinping. Despite the casual backdrop at Trump's resort in Florida, expectations are high. These bilateral chats could set the political agenda for the world's two biggest economies for the next 4 years.
I just want to say it's a great honor to have the president of China and his incredibly talented wife, a great celebrity in China, a great singer. It's an honor to have you in the United States. We've had a long discussion already. And so far I have gotten nothing, absolutely nothing. But we have developed a friendship, I can see that. And I think long term, we're going to have a very, very great relationship. And I look very much forward to it.
And that was now all of these countries. Remember, folks, again, all of these countries are not just stepping down from doing evil. They are also being forced into helping the Q plan. So all of these countries are now part of this process to help.
Police keep a watchful eye in an extremely rare instance of a public demonstration tolerated by Chinese authorities.
Now, the next stop was China.
The president coming here as the Chinese tout his visit as a state visit plus. It is the most crucial stop he'll make during this 5-nation tour.
All right, we have to come back to the Capital International Airport of Beijing, where Donald Trump and his wife Melania are stepping out of the plane right now. And this is President Trump's first visit to China as the President of the United States.
For this state visit, a red carpet welcome. Rows of children greeting President Trump and the First Lady for his first visit to China as Commander-in-Chief.
The Chinese are pulling out all the stops. They're going to have all the lavish dinners, the bilateral meeting with President Xi Jinping, all of the grandeur, the pomp and circumstance that you'd expect for any state visit. But they also said they're going to be adding some personal touches. So he's going to be taking a tour of the Forbidden City.
President Trump, the world's most famous capitalist, alongside China's Communist Party ruler, President Xi, and their wives.
There have been reports that he's going to be the first American president to actually be hosted by President Xi or by a Chinese president in the Forbidden City. So that is also another personal touch.
I would say China 5,000 years it goes back. Is So this is your original form very much, yeah, it really is.
This is huge. It's called the Forbidden City for a reason, and that's where they met. And of course, that was at Trump's request.
That's great.
Another story the mainstream media just forgot to tell us about.
An all-out war against corruption in China. Since the 18th National Congress of the CPC in November 2012, the CPC Central Committee has shown no tolerance nor mercy toward corrupt officials. About 182,000 officials nationwide were punished in 2013, 13.3% more than in 2012. 31 high-profile officials were investigated by the commission itself, and 8 of them were handed over to prosecutors.
Completely forgot to mention that China has kicked out the communist devil-worshipping Satanists, and
it's not that big of a deal. It's just a small story.
Today marks the start of China's 2015 anti-corruption campaign known as the Fox Hunt.
It's China's most important annual political gathering, but a number of faces will be absent from this year's Congress. 36 delegates and political advisors are under investigation for corruption. One of them is Ling Jinghua, a former aide to China's previous president. Many wonder who'll be next. So far, more than 100,000 low and high-ranking officials across the country have been implicated. On Monday, 14 generals were added to the list. The president's anti-corruption campaign that began more than 2 years ago is expected to be a dominant theme of this Congress, and it's a campaign that appears to be far from over.
One corrupt official caught in bed with the blonde, and another busted for having money stashed in the closet. These tantalizing scenes appear in the Chinese anti-corruption TV series In the Name of the People. But viewers who saw the first episode say the series doesn't appear to be entirely fictional, noting similarities between the character of one corrupt official and Wei Pengyue, a former senior energy official who was found to have more than 200 million yuan or $29 million in cash at home. Wei was found guilty of taking bribes and given a suspended death penalty in October.
Let's also introduce you to the man doing the dirty job for Xi Jinping. Chen Yixin, a protege of the Chinese president. His name has appeared far too often in the Chinese press this year. Chen was sent to Wuhan to control the virus, and now he's being asked to control China's security apparatus. He is leading a new round of evictions.
He was appointed as the deputy head of a central government group, tasked with controlling the pandemic. Chen knew the city well. He had served as the party chief of Wuhan. His hands are full under Xi's leadership. He serves as the Secretary General of the Central Political and Legal Affairs Commission, the top law enforcement body of China. It oversees police officers, prosecutors, courts and prisons. And Chen is best poised to lead the purge in the state security apparatus. In July, China's state-owned wire service sent out this dispatch. China to rectify problems in political and legal organs. This was a cryptic announcement of a new round of cleanups. In Chen Yixin's own words, he is thoroughly removing tumors from China's justice system, going after the so-called corrupt officials like a surgeon would scrap poison off one's bones. Xi is projecting this as part of his anti-corruption drive.
It is indeed time to drain the swamp in Washington, D.C. If I'm elected president, I will push for a constitutional amendment to impose term limits on all members of Congress. They've been talking about that for years. Decades of failure in Washington and decades of special interest dealing must and will come to an end.
Last year, a Chinese government-backed think tank in Beijing produced a report
that assessed all 50 of America's governors on their attitudes towards China. They labeled each of you friendly, hardline, or ambiguous. I'll let you decide where you think you belong. Someone in China already has. Many of you, indeed, in that report are referenced by name.
Now, when Trump left Rome, he flew directly to Brussels.
A city he previously called a hellhole. Can he and NATO's European members agree on who their real enemies are? And on International Missing Children's Day, we learn what can be done to both find and prevent losing children.
And you all know the two big players that are in Brussels. You have this European Parliamentary for the EU, and then you also have NATO that just happens to be in Brussels as well. They were all there, all of the political heads, along with their finance ministers, and then all of the behind-the-scenes individual players were all there for this. And Trump apparently, very famously, he called everyone together for this meeting, and then he purposely came late.
Well, it's difficult to predict or to interpret how they're feeling, but it's basically been a meeting, not a summit, that has been surrounded by a lot of anxiety from all in Brussels and also from European capitals.
And he made them just sweat it out. He made these pieces of dung in Brussels sweat it out. So Trump makes the wait, he walks in late, he throws this big folder on the table, and he said, "We have it all. We have it all." And in short order, those little rats, those little cowards, they all capitulated in very, very short order. And there was a whole bunch of things that occurred in the following days from there, including the EU backing down on Brexit.
No more financial contributions, no more European Court of Justice, no more common fisheries policy, no more being talked down to, no more being bullied, no more Guy Verhofstadt. I mean, what's not to like? I know you're going to miss us. I know you want to ban our national flags, but we're going to wave you goodbye, and we'll look forward in the future to working with you as sovereign.
If you disobey the rules, you get cut off. Could we please remove the flags?
And NATO having to, step up and basically pay for the bulk, and all of these different nations, instead of the United States having to fund all of them.
He plans to tell other members to spend more on defence and step up the fight against terrorism.
I have been very, very direct with Secretary Stoltenberg and members of the alliance in saying that NATO members must finally contribute their fair share and meet their financial obligations. But 23 of the 28 member nations are still not paying what they should be paying and what they are supposed to be paying for their defense.
It's not like that's a big deal in terms of saving money or anything. No, it's symbolic. It's symbolic. You're going to pay for NATO from now on. We're not, because I'm in charge. So when the photo op came for this famous meeting in Brussels, Trump again came late. He just shows to everyone who was there that he was in charge of the meeting. He disseminated the information to the press. He said what was going down. He showed them. He came in late, and then he left. And he owns the EU and NATO. That's why they've done everything they've done ever since. Now, in October of 2017, there was an attempt on the life of the new Saudi crown prince.
Yeah, if you look at the map, Jake, it gives you an idea of why this was so deadly.
Hundreds of our fellow citizens are now mourning the sudden loss of a loved one.
This little operation that was set for him in Las Vegas was taken down at the last second, and he was protected.
Some at the concert thought it was firecrackers, some thought it was something wrong with the audio. They say it took them just a few moments to realize what was happening.
What happened at this Las Vegas battle?
Hey, you guys, get down! Go that way! Get out of here! Gunshot coming from over there!
Bin Salman was saved by the U.S. military through the intel received by the NSA, and then given to Bin Salman by Trump. He was asked to take on an even bigger role, and he agreed to do it. He basically was saying to Trump, anything, my brother, anything, my brother.
Thank you very much, everybody. It's a great honor to have the Crown Prince with us.
It was a low-key arrival for such a high-profile visit. The Crown Prince from Saudi Arabia did not go in through the front door, but soon found himself in the Oval Office. And there, US President Donald Trump addressing mainly a domestic audience.
On Trump's behalf, Bin Salman went to all of the major corporations, and in particular, the media companies, so Google, Apple, Twitter, Facebook, Microsoft, all of these main companies were all targeted by Bin Salman, and on Trump's behalf, he visited all of them. And of course, this is all verifiable. I've got all of the documentation, all of the imagery showing all of these meetings taking place. And this is Bin Salman essentially helping Trump to do all of this work for him. And he went and he visited all of these puppet heads for all of these puppet companies, and he basically read them the riot act and showed them the documentation that the NSA had on all of them, and basically said, you play for Team Trump, and Trump is now in control of these corporations, or declass. All of this information will be declassified one by one, and each one of you will be offered up to the masses as a child murderer. So they all capitulated, and there's the money shots of all of these various heads of all of these various companies, including Jack Dorsey for Twitter. So all this stuff that's been going on lately with the censorship of Trump by Twitter, it's all part of the game that needs to be played out for people to get angry and to wake up to what the heck is the evil that's going on, and to say something about it and to do something about it and begin to change their lives. So that's real. All of that is real. And Bin Salman helped Trump do this, and he went to all of those CEO heads of all of those major media companies and social media companies.
But there was a warning from the president to Saudi Arabia and others in the region.
Whether it's Saudi Arabia or other countries, as we know, there will be no funding. We have a zero tolerance for the funding of terrorists.
Among the things to be covered in the talks, the Iran nuclear deal, security across the Middle East.
We've become very good friends over a fairly short period of time.
Mohammed bin Salman has a long list of things to be discussed, debated and agreed during this US trip, and he does so believing his relationship with the president is deep, strong and mutually beneficial.
US President Donald Trump has touched down in Davos, Switzerland for the World Economic Forum, which he will address for the first time.
The world is witnessing the resurgence of a strong and prosperous America. I'm here to deliver a simple message. There has never been a better time to hire, to build, to invest, and to grow in the United States.
Now, this is a big one for me, and boy, you talk about going into the lion's den. at Davos, Switzerland. Do you guys remember this? This is January of 2018. This was quite a big deal. Soros was there as well.
Clearly, I consider the Trump administration a danger to the world, but I regard it as a purely temporary phenomenon that will disappear in 2020 or even sooner.
It's very exciting to be here. We're very happy to be here. The United States is doing very well. It'll continue to do well, and this will be a very exciting 2 days. Thank you very much.
We've all heard of Davos and the World Economic Forum. That's that gabfest that takes place every January in the beautiful Swiss town of Davos. And apart from all the lovely pop stars and movie stars who jet in on their private Learjets, all sorts of major corporations and governments, including ours, send delegates to this flash red carpet economic event every year.
I will always put America first, just like the leaders of other countries should put their country first also. But America first does not mean America alone. When the United States grows, so does the world.
President Trump is the first US leader to visit Davos since Bill Clinton in 2000.
And at this meeting, you're talking about the biggest international corporations in the world. This is it. These are the key players.
Well, I just want to thank everybody. The receptivity that we've had and the United States has had being here has been incredible. Sitting around this table are some of the greatest business leaders in the world, some of the greatest companies in the world. Probably I can think of no other place or time where you'll have executives of this stature.
And these are the biggest, most evil corporations that are at this meeting at Davos, Switzerland. It was called by Trump. So Trump makes the wait, he walks in late, he throws this big folder on the table, and he said, "We have it all. We have it all."
I just want to say that there's been a lot of warmth, a lot of respect for our country.
And like scared little rodents, they capitulated quite quickly. Trump did not leave without them.
Because this is a time for tremendous hope and joy and optimism and action. But to embrace the possibilities of tomorrow, we must reject the perennial prophets of doom and their predictions of the apocalypse.
I'm afraid we are literally at the last hour, and there is real urgency for action. With the urgency required, I hope, ladies and gentlemen, you will join me to drive a new Marshall-like plan for nature, people, and planet.
They are the heirs of yesterday's foolish fortune tellers, and I have them, and you have them, and we all have them.
This pandemic has provided an opportunity for a reset.
Wars, famines, plagues, events that affect the vast bulk of humanity, as this virus has, they don't just come and go.
My name is John Barry. I'm Professor of Green Political Economy at Queen's University, Belfast. The pandemic has cancelled the future, but that's okay. It was a pretty bad one anyway.
We see these moments as the time to learn and to improve on the world that went before. And that's why this government will build back better.
And they want to see us do badly, but we don't let that happen. They predicted an overpopulation crisis in the 1960s, mass starvation in the 70s, and an end of oil in the 1990s. These alarmists always demand the same thing: absolute power to dominate, transform, and control every aspect of our lives.
The COVID-19 crisis has shown us that our old systems are not fit anymore for the 21st century. It has laid bare the fundamental lack of social cohesion, fairness, inclusion, and equality. In short, We need a great reset.
We will never let radical socialists destroy our economy, wreck our country.
Going in a very dark winter. Things are going to get much tougher before they get easier.
Or eradicate our liberty.
And as a result, we do need to close our schools for the coming days.
America will always be the proud, strong, and unyielding bastion of freedom. In America, we understand what the pessimists refuse to see.
And of course, a unique opportunity to reset our global agenda.
That a growing and vibrant market economy focused on the future lifts the human spirit and excites creativity, strong enough to overcome any challenge by far.
We're not just going to try to plaster over the cracks and put some props in where it's falling apart. His approach was to say, we're going to build it back better.
They get off on delivering these speeches where they use code phrases like build back better, and they get reported enthusiastically in a lot of the media, and the media goes, oh, that sustainability sounds really great. It sounds like really eco-friendly.
With a simple sleight of hand, they realized any disaster can be the perfect excuse to build back better, meaning build back greener, by using the money that should be going to disaster relief to instead subsidize the eco-Marxist, anti-capitalist UN agenda at the same time as making renewables investors very rich. Again, this isn't me saying this is them.
People ready to work together to improve the state of the world. People who know that change is not just happening, but change can be shaped by us.
The great scientific breakthroughs of the 20th century, from penicillin to high-yield wheat to modern transportation and breakthrough vaccines, have lifted living standards and saved billions of lives around the world, and we're continuing to work on things that you'll be hearing about in the near future.
It's a Tesla tower.
That even today, sitting here right now, you wouldn't believe it's possible. We have found the answers.
To provide high-quality, affordable internet to essentially the entire planet.
But we have found answers to things that people said would not be possible, certainly not in a very short period of time.
The value is moving with the data, just right on top of each other. And that is a world that we can have, but not with the infrastructure you have today.
So together we must go forward with confidence, determination, and vision. We must not be timid or meek or fearful, but instead we must boldly seize the day and embrace the moment. We have so many great leaders in this room, not only business leaders, but leaders of nations. And some are doing such a fantastic job. We work together very closely. We will draw strength from the glories of the past, and we will make greatness our common mission for the future. Together we will make our nations stronger, our countries safer, our culture richer, our people freer, and the world more beautiful than ever before. Above all else, we will forever be loyal to our workers, our citizens, and our families, the men and women who are the backbone of our economies, the heart of our communities, and the soul of our countries. Let us bring light to their lives one by one and empower them to light up the world.
This COVID thing is their golden opportunity, and they certainly don't want Trump or anyone else to fix the problem, certainly not prematurely.
We're waiting. We're waiting for you to get your act together and understand the depth of this crisis, the breadth of this crisis, and do something real.
Scott, it's noon on the East Coast. Here's the news from CNBC. The president and first lady are positive for COVID-19, now in quarantine at the White House.
In the middle of the night, Trump confirmed the test results by tweeting, "Tonight, the First Lady and I tested positive for COVID-19. We will begin our quarantine and recovery process immediately. We will get through this together."
Today he feels well. He's been up and around. Our plan for today is to have him to eat and drink, be up out of bed as much as possible, to be mobile. And if he continues to look and feel as well as he does today, our hope is that we can plan for a discharge as early as tomorrow.
Because, see, the problem is these frontline doctors in the white coats, if they're right, and COVID can be cured without 7 billion doses of Bill Gates' vaccine, well, the Great Reset that they keep talking about in Davos, Switzerland, the Great Reset will be dead on arrival.
This is him getting off as he walks up those stairs. So, Sanjay, keep going.
Doctors look at this and they say, well, what's going on inside of him? What's the illness all about? And we know he has an infection with this coronavirus. We know that infection, that coronavirus can be very contagious, which is why people, take great pains to protect themselves in the hospital. But this is obviously sending a very different,
takes it off,
an incorrect message.
And you see him here, he takes it off and he's getting ready for his pictures. The flags flank him. Right, Caitlin, this is what he did. This is the moment. This is what he produced it for. He wants the image to be, I'm strong. This virus is nothing. His tweet today, feeling better than I did 20 years ago. Don't be afraid of COVID. Don't let it dominate your life.
But you saw him tonight. Highly contagious. He has to be. It is the science of it. I know he was in the hospital. I know he had 24-hour care. I know they gave him 2 experimental treatments, but it was no big deal.
This is a Mussolini moment. Donald Trump, who looks like he has makeup on, which means somebody had to get close enough to make up his face with his favorite orange patina.
I just left Walter Reed Medical Center, and it's really something very special. The doctors, the nurses, the first responders, and I learned so much about coronavirus. And one thing that's for certain, don't let it dominate you. Don't be afraid of it. You're going to beat it. We have the best medical equipment. We have the best medicines, all developed recently. And you're going to beat it. I didn't feel so good. And 2 days ago, I could have left 2 days ago. 2 days ago, I felt great, like better than I have in a long time. I said just recently, better than 20 years ago.
Because he's clearly shooting an advertisement, a video, a propaganda piece, whatever it is he's doing right now. The first thing he did was to take off his mask.
And the Great Reset, they need President Joe the Catholic Biden to hand us, the United States, over to them if he wins this election. This is why they're trying so hard to take Donald Trump down.
I hold rallies, and I tell you to ignore masks, and I rip mine off as I vanquish the virus because I am a leader. Fear not, COVID. What a bunch of bullshit.
The World Economic Forum announced a couple of days ago that Davos in January has been postponed. Let's face it, it's never a good look when you're banging on about global warming and it's snowing outside.
So what's this all about? I think you know. I think we all sort of in our hearts, we kind of realize what's going on here. This is not about COVID anymore. This is about a reset of everything. And the United States of America is in the way right now of all of it. So they are destabilizing our entire country. The Great Reset, then, politically, economically, it wants to implement massive socialist programs and, of course, global climate change along the lines of the Green New Deal. The regulation is going to be unbelievable.
It's a hardcore, leftist, eco-horror show replete with quasi-fascism. I spoke a couple of weeks ago here about the disturbing trend among many of the world's left-wing elites to increasingly conflate COVID-19 with climate change.
We will now start a quite high number of task forces to look at all the different issues, and we will present all those ideas to the people assembled in Davos. But at the same time, we will make Davos very different, very open, to ensure that we do not fall back to old recipes, but that we really look at forward-oriented solutions.
Now, put aside for the moment that bloke looks like he's auditioning for the head of Smersh in the next James Bond movie. He is, in fact, Klaus Schwab, the founder and head of the World Economic Forum. He is a total whack job, in my opinion, and I'll get into that in a second. He's a big fan of drones, algorithms, and the Chinese Communist Party, and he believes there's a fourth industrial revolution underway that is changing what it means to be human. And he peddles this sicko fantasy that humans and machines will somehow merge in his green utopia. Bonkers, like I said, but this lunatic has some very, very powerful friends determined to push the Great Reset button along with him.
Everyone's in on the Great Reset. Well, almost everyone.
I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear.
There's one guy who's got the power to do something to stop it, and you know exactly where I'm going. And they made a mistake. They tried to get Trump on their side, so they invited Donald Trump to Davos, I think a couple of times. But in January, when Donald Trump, I think, really began to see the beast that he was up against, he went to Davos, to the World Economic Forum, and he stuck a mega finger in their eye.
We're committed to conserving the majesty of God's creation and the natural beauty of our world. But to embrace the possibilities of tomorrow, we must reject the perennial prophets of doom and their predictions of the apocalypse. These alarmists always demand the same thing: absolute power to dominate, transform, and control every aspect of our lives. We will never let radical socialists destroy our economy, wreck our country.
2 days after Donald Trump gave that speech, the 89-year-old leftist weirdo billionaire George Soros made an emergency intervention where, at Davos, once again, warning that the U.S. 2020 election will determine the, quote, fate of the whole world. For the Vatican, for Pope Francis, and for his friends at the UN, Donald Trump is the problem, obviously, friends.
Clearly, I consider the Trump administration a danger to the world, but I regard it as a purely temporary phenomenon that will disappear in 2020.
Do you get it? Do you see why there's so much hate for Trump? Because with all of his faults, again, he's the capitalist. He's not the globalist. He never will be one of them, which is why he pulled the United States out of the Paris Climate Agreement. Donald Trump pulled the United States out of the World Health Organization. That's Bill Gates and company. And now he's threatening to pull the United States out of the World Trade Organization. People say, yeah, well, Donald Trump got married twice. He's a bad guy. Really? He's right in the face of the demons on this, friends. Nobody ever said he was a saint. He's knocking the sacred cows of the United Nations down all over the world right now.
The General Assembly routinely votes 185 against the United States on almost everything right now.
And you remember, speaking of the United Nations, in November of 2019, again, right before COVID landed, Trump went to the UN, on the floor of the General Assembly, and he declared war on globalism.
Wise leaders always put the good of their own people and their own country first. The future does not belong to globalists. The future belongs to patriots.
And shortly after the speech at the UN, Donald Trump delivered, what do you think happened? The coronavirus was unleashed on the world, and Trump's booming U.S. economy went on life support. Do you think that was an accident? So when they tell you, when they tell all of us to stay home, wear your mask so grandma doesn't get sick, please understand what's really going on here. They don't care about your grandmother. You know what we do to fight back? Go to work. Go back to school. If you're healthy, take off the mask. And for heaven's sake, go back to church and pray that Trump wins in November. That's what the reset was on. That's what the Russia hoax was all about. That's what the impeachment hoax was all about. Don't you see? For 4 years, they've been trying to stop this man because if he strengthens America, if he makes it great again, if he brings the economy back again, the reset won't happen.
Today's ceremony, however, has very special meaning. Because today, we are not merely transferring power from one administration to another, or from one party to another, but we are transferring power from Washington, D.C., and giving it back to you, the people.
The New World Order is going to be set way back. Who knows when they're going to have another COVID opportunity like this one again, and they know it.
January 20th, 2017 will be remembered as the day the people became the rulers of this nation again.
So ask yourselves why they hate this man. These folks, these men, they hate God. They hate the unborn. They hate the traditional family. They hate you. And they hate Donald Trump. Friends, stand with America right now, or fall with the New World Order in the not-so-distant future. There's no other choice.
I, Barack Hussein Obama, do solemnly swear, to the best of my ability, preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States.
So help you God?
So help me God.
Congratulations, Mr. President.
The Obama administration was the most treasonous and deceitful administration in the history of America. And quite frankly, it may go down as one of the most treasonous administrations in the history of man. They encouraged the purchase of corporations by China. Over the 8 years of the renegade Hussein Obama, our country was literally sold lock, stock, and barrel. It was the final phases of destruction of America. Over the 8 years, we saw a transfer of wealth and transfer of industrial base to China at an unprecedented level. And all of this ended with the expectation that Hillary Rodham Clinton would assume the final 8 years of presidency. Now, why do I say final 8 years? That was simply the mop-up phase. What most don't appreciate is when President Trump and the Patriots came to power, the country was already in control of China and the deep state. Keep in mind that Chinese Communist Party and the deep state are synonymous. That the whole world organization and headquarters was going to be shifted to China through a series of events that would have collapsed the dollar to a point where the world would have begged for a replacement currency. That replacement currency initially would have arisen as what they call a basket of currencies, or an SDR. And then from that, the yuan, the Chinese currency, would have become the predominant currency. For those that were thinking that America could fight back, it would have been impossible. The military had been so significantly compromised that we would have lost a conflict with China and potentially Russia, not because of our ability, but because all of our secrets had been given away. Our materials had been compromised. Our military would have been at the mercy of an enemy that already knew everything it was going to do and controlled it from within. Digital backdoors were put in through all of our electronics. China had access to our communications. They had access to our avionics. They had access to our satellites. This was all master planned over many, many years, but the culmination period was the 8 years of the renegade Hussein Obama.
Thank you for this incredible journey. Let's keep it going. God bless you. God bless the United States of America.
The final event is unclear exactly how it would have played out. Through research and through what we've been able to compile, there seems to have been a plan to have a limited war that would have impacted directly on U.S. soil. Most of that war probably would have been fought from assets owned and controlled by the deep state, but Russia would have had the blame. Strategic sites in the U.S., most likely red cities and red states, would have been devastated. The Constitution would have been suspended, and a process then moving forward to take more and more control in a socialist and communist fashion over the nation. We are literally witnessing the transformation of our system from one that was already in the globalist camp back to one that will be a sovereign nation. But that process is painful because we have to root out the corruption in ideologies, values, and allegiance that is rooted in every level of our system. The plan is working. What is now being demanded is that we, the people, stand, just like they've done now in Virginia, just like they've done now in Michigan.
Now, we did see demonstrators with guns again this morning, but the crowd was noticeably smaller.
It is time for the people to make a stand and make it clear, because the president is behind us and leading us in so many ways. These times demand an unbelievable level of faith, and faith is blind. You have to literally put your faith in God and trust that the president that is there, that came at a time and against all odds, is there with God. And I know that may be hard for some to take, but it's not for me. The national events are not things you can control. It is easy to get consumed in those. But our fight, our responsibility is local. If you look carefully at the rules, the way this entire COVID event has been drafted, county by county is where the control is.
Now, over 100 cities and counties in Virginia have voted to become what some call Second Amendment sanctuaries, places where newly passed gun laws will not be enforced. Sheriff Scott Jenkins of Culpeper County says he won't enforce any law he says is unconstitutional.
That means our personal fight is at the county level. We have to back our sheriffs. We have to back our county commissions. And in those areas where you have a bad sheriff and a bad county commission, you need to highlight it, expose it, and keep pressure on it. They either change or they are removed. Research at this point in time is more important than ever. You have to look past fear porn. There is so much of this craziness going on both sides, and it's only going to get worse because the deep state is losing control. They are going to throw everything they have at you.
And this is how it's going to be. We will shut you down. We will cite you.
Meine Arbeit für richtig hältst, ob du glaubst, dass ich fleißig gewesen bin.
And if we need to, we will arrest you and we will take you to jail. Don't make us treat you like a criminal. But if you act like a criminal and you violate the law and you refuse to do what is necessary,
dass ich gearbeitet habe, dass ich mich in diesen Jahren für dich eingesetzt habe,
we will take you to jail, period.
And in order to avoid being consumed by that, you have to research, you have to take a step back. Always begin with faith and prayer and always return to the fight with knowledge and wisdom. We need to build our faith and our strength with each other more than ever. So many people are beginning to awaken. Those that are awakened are now being called upon to reach across and help those that are beginning to see the light. We're literally witnessing a masterful plan of reveal that requires that President Trump put the enemy front and forward.
The medical fraud in the data is tremendous. Unless humans stop dying, the lockdown continues because they're calling everything corona. And as long as people are testing positive for being human, the pandemic continues.
Patriots, we are in the storm. And now more than ever, we need to hold firm on our foundations. And our foundations have to be built on our faith in God and our faith that He will deliver us to the destiny that He's promised. God will deliver. Have faith.
What kind of a peace do I mean, and what kind of a peace do we seek? Not a Pax Americana, enforced on the world by American weapons of war. Not the peace of the grave or the security of the slave. I am talking about genuine peace, the kind of peace that makes life on earth worth living, the kind that enables men and nations to grow and to hope and build a better life for their children. Not merely peace for Americans, but peace for all men and women. Not merely peace in our time, but peace in all time. I speak of peace, therefore, as the necessary, rational end of rational men. I realize the pursuit of peace is not as dramatic as the pursuit of war, and frequently the words of the pursuers fall on deaf ears. But we have no more urgent task. Our problems are man-made, therefore they can be solved by man.
Welcome to Mount Rushmore, welcome to South Dakota, and enjoy your evening.
Before the world, this monument will never be desecrated. These heroes will never be defaced. Their legacy will never, ever be destroyed. Their achievements will never be forgotten. And Mount Rushmore will stand forever as an eternal tribute to our forefathers and to our freedom. We gather tonight to herald the most important day in the history of nations, July 4th, 1776. At those words, every American heart should swell with pride. Every American family should cheer with delight, and every American patriot should be filled with joy, because each of you lives in the most magnificent country in the history of the world, and it will soon be greater than ever before. Our founders launched not only a revolution in government, but a revolution in the pursuit of justice, equality, liberty, and prosperity. No nation has done more to advance the human condition than the United States of America. And no people have done more to promote human progress than the citizens of our great nation. We will state the truth in full, without apology. We declare that the United States of America is the most just and exceptional nation ever to exist on earth. We are proud of the fact that our country was founded on Judeo-Christian principles, and we understand that these values have dramatically advanced the cause of peace and justice throughout the world. We know that the American family is the bedrock of American life. We recognize the solemn right and moral duty of every nation to secure its borders. And we are building the wall. We remember that governments exist to protect the safety and happiness of their own people. A nation must care for its own citizens first. We must take care of America first. It's time. We believe in equal opportunity, equal justice, and equal treatment for citizens of every race, background, religion, and creed. Every child of every color, born and unborn, is made in the holy image of God. Above all, our children from every community must be taught that to be American is to inherit the spirit of the most adventurous and confident people ever to walk the face of the earth. Americans are the people who pursued our manifest destiny across the ocean, into the uncharted wilderness, over the tallest mountains, and then into the skies, and even into the stars. My fellow citizens, America's destiny is in our sights. America's heroes are embedded in our hearts. America's future is in our hands. And ladies and gentlemen, the best is yet to come.